Morning, and welcome back to Financial Freedom for the Average Person. I'm Oba Vincent, and it's foosball season, soccer. So I got my soccer shirt on. Just got back from the gym. Thought I would do a quick video here and talk about home target prices. Okay, this is exercise 7 in the book, and we're going to go over my approach or several approaches for coming up with what you can afford to spend on a house. Okay, so let's jump into this. Okay, how much house can you afford? I'm going to give you two different approaches, an easy one and a little more complicated one. The first one is you just take your annual income and multiply it by two. Um, and you can take it right off your tax return. And so the example we use in the book is 90,000. So 90,000, say you could afford a house, 180,000. You can actually afford a little bit more than that. So if you multiplied it by 2.5 or even by three would take you to 270,000. That's going to be kind of the range that you really don't want to go over that. Now, the second way is just more detailed. You're really getting into what you're making, and it's really fundamentally based on you don't want to spend more than 30% of your income on your house. So, but basically, take your monthly take-home pay from the leaving earnings, and then take out your entire budget. Subtract all your investments, all your other payments, add in the monthly income, and you're going to end up with a number that's going to kind of represent what you have on a monthly basis. Then from that, multiply it by 4. Okay, and that over a year, then basically what you would be using is 1/3 of everything but your housing costs would calculate it out. Now you take that, and now I'll just escalate that up for the year. And there's calculators online that could do that. And it's going to give you a number, and that number is going to be somewhere in that 2 to 3 times your pay, typically. Always exceptions, but that's the way that should work out. Lastly, take the lower of the two numbers, 1 and 2. That's really what you should consider. The lower house you can get in the right area, you end up more of an opportunity to make a lot more money on it. And then also, in your planning, to get away from PMI, which could cost you $60 to $100 a month, you need 20% down. That's not really realistic in a lot of cases, especially if you're starting out and you're looking at even a $200,000 home coming up with 40,000 down payment. There's a lot of different approaches to it. Uh, FHA, VA are also options to kind of get you around that and things that you consider. Now let's take this is from the book. Let's take something a little more current. All right. So in the original example I started with, which was based on my goals and things earlier in one of our previous exercises, take home pay was 6,000 per month. That's 90,000 a year before taxes. 1/3 of that is 2,000 a month. Take off 25% for tax and insurance, and that gives you a payment target of 1,500 a month. Now, using AI, love AI. It's always kind of funny with the answers you get. But with that, it looked like the loan amount I could get was 234,500. That was with 5% down, or 297,000 with 20% down. So the bank would allow up to 350,000. When I ran some of the mortgage calculators on that 90,000. Don't do that. 350, you're gonna be house poor. Okay, keep that back. Get in your first house, figure out how to get it paid off, and then move up. Okay, if you take the incremental steps, stay in what you can afford, you'll end up much further ahead later on. Always exceptions, but the basic rule. So don't be house poor. So real quick on how much you can afford, for your house. And next we're going to look at finding your house. Now, before we get into that, I will say, again, going back, your first few exercises, the first few chapters, plan, plan, plan. If you lay out your plan, it's like, okay, I'm going to get married in a year. In 3 years, we want to buy a house. Okay. So if you knew that, then it's like, okay, so we need to start building up the down payment. I got an idea what my money's going to be. I got an idea of how much of a house I can afford. Everything starts lining up. And if you do it with the time and planning, then the execution comes in. Where you get in trouble is like, okay, let's go buy a house and let's go find a mortgage. And there's a bank over there. And you will lose a lot of money doing that. So, um, plan, 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 and be smart.